Lloyd, do you believe that Indian consumer is truly Enigma?
Absolutely.
If you want to nail and understand the enigma of Indian consumer, this is the episode for you.
Behind the veneer of just one country, there is a series of subtext and subcultures.
Let's speak about the B2C and D2C space.
Like I said, the first part is always about understanding the consumer. I mean, this is a country which possibly has people who are, who live the lifestyle of the ultra rich in the West. And there are people who are living in abject poverty. I think that's where there's a hurdle.
Truly enigma in its way.
Formerly, maybe people's, understanding of the world was limited to a limited geography. I think today there's a far greater understanding and opening.
Can you give us some examples of the global companies that have cracked the code pretty well? Let's speak about the B2C and D2C space. Now, businesses which are looking at entering into this space in India, what are the key pointers that they have to have in mind with regards to engaging in the B2C model and D2C model?
Like I said, the first part is always about understanding the consumer and
Right.
understanding the fact that there's no one constant.
Yeah.
Right? Like
There
I
is
said,
no
it's-
one
there's-
size
there's
fit
no
all
one
to-
size fit all. I mean, this is a country which possibly has, at one level, people who are, who live the lifestyle of the ultra rich in the West. And there are people who are living in abject poverty. Right? And I think the startling point in India is, and Bombay is a great example, or Mumbai is a great example. They both could exist within the same 1 square kilometer.
Yes.
Right? You could have the richest man in the world or among the top 5 in the world, and you could have somebody who's living on the margins of poverty, who's not sure where his next meal, and they both could be living in the same zip code or the same pin code. If I'm speaking, I think that's one reality. The two is that also cultural sensitivities are important. What is cool in a part of India may not be so.
cool.
I mean, I could remember one great example in my, in my years in Pepsi. We'd had this, hugely successful campaign with a mega star, and at some point in the star, as this mega star is popping up his bottle of Pepsi to offer to his lady, there's an older man in the background, and the older man kind of looks at the woman transfixed and is excited. Now that worked very well in North India. In South, it was considered inappropriate, right? You don't have a dadaji or a grandfather
Yeah.
looking longingly at an attractive young girl. It was
Right.
considered improper. So the same commercial had to be shot differently.
Right.
Same stars,
Yeah.
same commercial, same theme. But in one, you had to show an old man who's nonchalant about this attractive young woman walking, and in the other, a drool was completely acceptable. I think getting these nuances is what tells the consumer that this brand understands me and gets it right. When you miss this out, then it becomes a come-see, approach,
Right.
and people say, okay,
Right.
that's fine. So I think that's, to my mind, the core of the issue. The second is some degree of product customization. Like I gave you the Motorola example, you have a higher sound, is that for every company, you have to understand that are there permissible tweaks in the product that don't affect the customer experience, but yet deliver.
Right.
And I think lastly, it is the customer experience. What makes some of these global majors, very good is their deep reliance on data analytics. That they know that for this kind of purchase, 2 clicks are good enough. You don't need a authentication code. For a certain higher value purchase, you might need 1. So it might be 3 clicks. I think understanding some aspects, because there's a fine line between what people think is intuitive and understands me, and hey, they know too much. So I think keeping those lines in mind, guidelines will work for both B2C and D2C
Right.
brands.
So as I understand that there can't be one strategy, but you need to have multiple strategy for even if your product is single.
Absolutely.
And the strategy will differ basis of the culture, basis of the tradition, sentiments, and the geography of the consumer.
Absolutely.
So truly enigma in its way.
And the recognition of change. For example, in some of my assignments, I keep talking about the fact that there is a change. Say from 10 years ago, and 2016 is when India saw the big leap in internet penetration, 750 million Indians. I think what that did is 2 things. One is it provided a lot of content to Indians in vernacular languages, right? So suddenly language, became a unifier.
Yeah.
2 is, I think there's a certain pride in being Indian that has come through in the last 5 years or slightly more. When people don't normally look down upon someone speaking with a vernacular accent, right?
Yes, well said.
20 years back, there was a little bit of a, it was infra dig for someone to speak with a strong
Yeah.
local regional accent.
Yeah.
Now it's completely acceptable,
Yeah.
right? So people have recognized there is different Indias.
Yes.
And someone coming with a thickly laden accent from a particular part of the country is not a bad thing. So an acceptance of that. The second, I think, media-driven is also the spread of the internet has exposed people to vastly more cultures. You're seeing a lot more images from around the world, right? Short format videos are coming in from various parts of the world. And people realize at one level, the human connect is so common, whether it's South America, whether it's the Western world, whether it's Africa, whether it's India, there are some bonds of humanity that are common. So I
Right.
think technology has played a significant role in that. It's kind of exposed vastly more Indians to the rest of the world. Formerly, maybe people's understanding of the world was limited to a limited geography. I think today there's a far greater understanding and opening.
Right. Totally. Again, coming back to the point of some amazing global companies that were category creators probably, and they entered Indian markets and stuff. Can you give us some examples of the global companies that have cracked the code pretty well? And these are recent examples from last 5-7 years, that these are the companies that have entered Indian markets and have really managed to build the bridge with the Indian consumers.
Absolutely. I think that some companies have done it exceedingly well. My personal favorite is IKEA, right? They've been a late entrant to India.
It's a great example.
But they've done a fabulous job. I think one is they do what they do well elsewhere in the world, have large format stores a little outside the city so people can go and shop.
Right.
But two is they've taken into account a lot of the local nuances.
Yeah.
The fact that Indians are not very hands-on. People who go
Yeah.
to an IKEA store, they still want a carpenter or someone to assemble the product of their house.
Oh, yes.
So IKEA tied up with a company like Urban Ladder.
Yeah.
So someone came to your home to kind of assemble whatever bit of furniture. I think
Right.
that was great. Two is I think the hype created around the IKEA store launch was huge. So literally in every one of the stores, on week one, there's been like a run on the store, people
Yeah.
kind of coming from all over. And third is even getting the kind of food mix, the fact that people go and spend like half a day at an IKEA store. I think recognizing all that with some degree of customization. So I think IKEA has been a great example.
You spoke about media, and the content is such, and especially audio-visual content, is one way of connecting to the Indian consumer straight down. And as I understand, the category creator like Star TV that you mentioned came in and did something experimental, did not go the Saas Bahu way. Rather, as I said, category created for with outstanding production quality, created a content that resonated not with target audience but interest group. Will it be fair to say that the time is such with regards to India that if you're going after target audience, you may not really be able to nail the right customer, but it could be an interest group that probably you need for your product,
Absolutely.
to take
Yeah,
off.
so I think creating cohorts of interest work very well. And also recognizing that today in the digital era, one is able to customize your communication down to the single person, right? If I could talk of technology, using technology, I think today, thanks to Gen AI, you can actually customize your communication to the individual, right? There are firms that do video content which can personalize communication through video through an individual, right? So
Yeah.
you can have a superstar saying hi, addressing you by a first name and talking about your interest levels. Or you can have a mega star. I think Cadbury Dairy Milk did a fabulous job a couple of Diwalis ago. They had Shah Rukh Khan, using that one particular imagery with using AI, talk about the fact that you can get your bar of chocolate at the store next door with the store named, right? So every store owner had the fact that, there was a
Yeah.
megastar endorsing, so to speak, my store.
My store.
And that was great use of technology. So I think technology is also permitting one to customize and drop communication at an individual level, keeping the nuances of culture and language in mind.
No, I think you've just helped nail some fantastic and a very strong point, which the audience cannot and should not miss. You need to be very, very savvy and sharp when it comes to utilizing technology.
Agile, I would say.
Agile.
Sure.
Technology and communication and agility can help you nail your communication better and connect with the Indian consumer, and not to be underestimated, because if your communication is created in such a way that it feels that it is meant purely for me, I think has a higher chance of being picked up.
Absolutely.
That, that's addressed to me. He's talking to me.
Absolutely.